Hello, my dear children. Welcome to the home mentoring session of English. Today we are going to do the poem An Elementary School Classroom in a Slum by Stephen Spender. Let's read something about the poet. Sir Stephen Harold Spender was born on February 28, 1909 in London. He attended Oxford University and fought in the Spanish Civil War. In the 1920s and 1930s, he associated with other poets and socialists such as W.H. Auden, Christopher Isherwood, Louise Macnies, and C.D. Lewis, and his early poetry was often inspired by social protests. During World War II, Spender worked for the London Fire Service. He co-founded Horizon magazine with Cyril Connolly and served as its editor from 1939 to 1941. He was editor of Encounter magazine from 1953 to 1966. He was a professor of English at University College London, and he gave frequent lecture tours in the United States. He was knighted. Knighted means he was given with this title, honored with the title of Sir in 1983, and he died on July 16, 1995. Coming to the text of the poem, the first stanza goes like this. Far, far from gusty waves, these children's faces, like rootless weeds, the hair torn round their pallor, the tall girl with her weighed-down head, the paper-seeming boy with rat's eyes, the stunted, unlucky heir of twisted bones, reciting a father's gnarled disease, his lesson from his desk. At back of the dim class, one unnoted, sweet and young, his eyes live in a dream of squirrel's game, in tree room other than this. As the name of the poem tells us, it's about an elementary school that provides basic education, primary education, to children who live in slum. The school is situated in a slum area, and the poet has described the slum children, the slum classroom of the school, and their lives. Far, far from gusty waves. Far away from the gusty waves. Gusty waves are breezy winds. Far, far. The use of the poetic device. Repetition. Far, far from gusty waves, these children's faces. The poet here wants to say that if you look at the faces of these children who are sitting in this elementary school classroom, they seem to be very far away from the gusty waves of life, the modern, fast-paced, fast life of cities. Like rootless weeds, rootless, unwanted, without any foundation. Weeds, plants that are not wanted. Just like these unwanted plants, these children are also unwanted. The hair torn round their pallor. Their hair are torn around their pale faces, just like rootless weeds. The tall girl with her weighed-down head. There is a tall girl sitting in the class. In this stanza, the poet is talking about the children sitting in the class. Number one is the tall girl with her weighed-down head. Maybe she is ashamed because of her age, she is elder to the others, or maybe it's the burden of poverty on her. The paper-seeming boy with rat's eyes. The literary device of metaphor is a paper-seeming boy, as thin as a paper, with rat's eyes. Rat's eyes, that as rat's eyes are searching for something, he also wants to search something, to find something for himself. The stunted is, that is not fully grown due to malnutrition. The stunted, unlucky heir of twisted bones, and there is a boy whose growth has been stopped due to malnutrition, and unluckily he has inherited a disease of twisted bones from his father. And when he reads his lesson, recites his lesson from his desk, The focus of people is not his lesson, but his father's disease that he has inherited, the gnarled disease. Gnarled disease, when the bones start developing knots. At the back of that dim class, there is one unnoted, sweet and young. His eyes live in a dream of squirrel's game in tree room. Other than this, there is one more boy who is very young, and he is sitting at the back of that ill-lit class. He is unnoted by anyone. He is sweet and young. He is not in the class mentally, though he is sitting in the class physically, but he is more engrossed in the squirrel's game. His eyes are lost in a dream of the squirrel's game, and he is busy looking outside, enjoying himself in the tree room where the squirrel is playing its game, other than the room where he is sitting. The poet describes the children who study in an elementary school which is set up in a slum area. The poet says that the faces of children are dull and without any energy. They're not full of energy like other kids of the age. These children are compared to unwanted weed. Here the writer wants to say that these children seem to be unwanted, like the unwanted weeds which grow on their own in the fields. Their hair is not neatly done. It falls on their pale faces as if they have been torn apart. The children are untidy. They haven't combed their hair. Then he describes a tall girl who seems to be burdened by poverty. Her head is bent, maybe because of tiredness or shame. There is another boy who is so weak and thin that he has been compared to a sheet of paper. The boy's eyes reflect greed, and he wants to achieve everything. Then he describes another student who is physically disabled. The poet says that this boy is unlucky because he has inherited a disease from his father, due to which he has a deformed body. Instead of getting any facility from his father, he has received a disease in heritage. This disabled boy is sitting on his bench and is reciting his lesson. At the back of the class, in dim, dark area, was a small boy who was not visible to the poet, as he was sitting in darkness. The poet could see his eyes, which were bright and full of a dream. He was not paying attention to the class. It seemed as if he was rather interested in playing with squirrels in the tree house. Let's carry on with the second stanza of the poem. On sour cream walls, donations. In this stanza, the poet is talking about the description of the classroom of the elementary school, that is in a slum. The poet wants to say that on sour cream walls, he is using a metaphor here to describe the walls emitting foul smell, and their color is as dull as sour cream. It is unpleasantness that he wants to show through these words. It also shows the color of the walls to be off-white or creamish. Here he wants to say that on sour cream walls there is a list of donations. Donations, things given or received in charity. You must have noticed that when you go to a temple or a public place, you see that hoardings or pictures that tell that this thing was donated by XYZ. Similarly, in the school, in the class, there is a list of people who have donated things in the form of money or in the form of articles for the building of the school, for the education in the school. It can be either the books or the furniture or the electrical appliances in the school. It could be anything. The poet wants to say that on sour cream walls there is a list of people who have donated something to the school. There is Shakespeare's head. Shakespeare's head means there is a picture of Shakespeare's face on the walls of the class. There is a landscape that is cloudless at dawn. Dawn means early morning, sunrise. There is a picture of an early morning scene where the sky is shown cloudless. But this is on the contrary to the lives of these slum children. Civilized dome riding all cities. The sun looks like a civilized dome. The half-risen sun looks like in the form and the shape of a dome that rides all cities, that moves around all the cities. There is a picture of a Tyrolese valley. Tyrolese Valley is a beautiful ice-free valley in Austrian Alpine province, and it has beautiful bell-shaped flowers. The Tyrolese belled flowery valley is also in the class on the walls. Open-handed map. There is a world map, open-handed map, that means drawn casually with the hand, awarding the world its world. Now the two worlds here are the geographical world where we live on, the earth, the land, and the other world is the society, the world that people make, that we make, you and I make. So there is a map on the wall which shows the world its world. The people of the whole world can see the whole world in the world map. And yet, for these children, these windows, not this map, their world. You should read it like this to make it to understand better, that and yet for these children, these windows are their world, not this map. But the world of the children of the slum school is not which is shown through this map. Their world is what is visible through the windows of their classroom, where all their future is painted with the fog. And what is visible from the windows of their classroom? That their future is painted with the fog. Fog means unclear. Unclear vision. Nothing is clear. The future is covered with fog. The future is covered with lack of vision. There is a narrow street that is visible from the windows, that is sealed in, shut or locked, with a lead sky. Lead sky, polluted sky. Here, the dark future of kids. There is a narrow street that is visible from the windows of the classroom, that is locked, that is sealed, that has sealed their future with a lead sky. Lead sky here is polluted sky, which again symbolizes lack of clear vision. Their real world is far, far away from rivers. The literary device of repetition. Far, far, far sound is repeated here. Far, far from rivers. Capes. Capes are a large piece of land that sticks out into the sea from the coast. Capes can be small streams also, and stores of words. The real world of these children is far away from the rivers, capes, small streams, and the stars of words. Starry lives that are shown to them through words, promises, but that is never given to them. The poet describes in this stanza the walls of the school. They are cream in color, like the color of sour cream. This means that the walls are not clean. They have not been painted recently. These walls are covered with different charts and images that must have been donated by different people. There is a picture of Shakespeare on the wall. His portrait in the given situation is useless in the class. At the time of daybreak, the sun is rising at the horizon and is semicircular like a dome shape. It seems to be behind all the cities. There is a picture of the famous Tyrolese Valley, which has beautiful flowers. There is the image of a map, which helps all in its own way. But for these children, the map of the world is irrelevant, because The slum where they live is different from what is shown in the map. Their world is only what they see out of the window of the classroom, the slum. Their future is full of darkness. Their future is compared to a narrow street, which means that there is no wide scope available for their future growth. These children are far away from the radiant light of knowledge and education. I hope you've understood the second stanza. Let's continue with our poem Elementary School Classroom in a Slum with the third stanza. Surely Shakespeare is wicked. The map, a bad example. Here the poet wants to say that Shakespeare is wicked. He doesn't want to say that Shakespeare, the person, is wicked. He wants to say that to hang the picture of Shakespeare is wicked, is evil, it's bad. The map, a bad example. The world map that is in the class is a bad example. With ships in sun and love tempting them to steal, for lives that slyly turn in their cramped holes from fog to endless night? The poet wants to say, rather he wants to ask, it's a question here. The poet wants to ask that what is the use of Shakespeare's picture? What is the use of the world map in the class? What is the use of the ships and sun and all the lovely things? They just tempt them. When they can't afford them, but want to reach all these things, all these luxuries, they are tempted to steal. They become thieves. For lives, for such people, for such living beings, that slyly, somehow, unnotedly, turn in their cramped holes, spend their whole life, slyly turn, without an identity, live in their cramped holes, cramped, confined, narrow holes. Their homes are so small, just like holes of the rats. From fog to endless night. Fog, the life they spend, the beginning of their life is unclear, and the darkness of their life is endless. For such people who have no vision, who have no clarity, who have no light, no hope in their lives, and they just spend their lives slyly in their narrow holes like homes. For such people, are these things required? That is why there is a question mark. On their slag heap. Slag otherwise means the residue also, and the residue is waste. On their slag heap, on their weak bodies, heap, that they are useless. On their weak, useless bodies, these children wear skins peeped through by bones. Their skins are so thin, just like a cloth, that their bones seem to be peeping through, as if the bones are ready to come out of the skin. And spectacles of steel with mended glass. Their spectacles are made of steel, but with mended glass, like bottle bits on stones, that when you break a bottle on stone, the small pieces of that glass bottle, they are mended and they are turned into spectacles of steel. All of their time and space are foggy slum. All the time, that means their whole life, and space, that is their world, are nothing but just foggy slum. They have nothing in their life apart from this foggy slum. So the poet wants that, so blot their maps with slums as big as doom. So we should blot their maps. We should be marking these maps with a spot to destroy them with slums as big as doom. So the slums which are just as big as doom, which are disastrous for them. These slums pictures, the maps of the slums, should cover the world maps. The real world should be shown to them. Coming to the explanation of the poem, the stanza 3. The poet further says that these children living in the slum area have faced so many hardships that they feel every other person to be their enemy. For them, Shakespeare is an evil man. They don't find the map to be a good thing. They never liked or loved by anyone. Therefore, they hate almost everyone. Their desire of being loved by others forces them to steal. They live in small homes and they have started adjusting to it. Their life is going towards an endless night. This means that their future is full of darkness. These kids are so thin that one can easily see their bones through the thin layer of skin. Their skin is like the thin layer of cloth, and the bones beneath are visible through the skin. These kids suffer from malnutrition. They wear spectacles which are made of steel. They are cheap and very uncomfortable. Even the lenses in the spectacles are repaired. The spectacles look like stones which have been repaired with pieces of glass sticking out of them. Here the poet tries to explain that these kids have to face so many hardships in their lives. As these slums are getting bigger, they will destroy the future of these children, and it is very difficult for such kids to escape from them. I hope you understood the third stanza. The last stanza of the poem, The Elementary School Classroom in a Slum. In the last stanza, the poet gives us some hope that it is not that the slum children are going to end up in those slums just like that, but if people come forward, their life can be improved. Their life can be made better. Let's read. Unless that their situation will be like this only, bad, unclear, without a vision, dark, unless people do something. The people who can do something are governor, inspector, visitor. Governor representing the political authorities, inspector representing the legal authorities, and the visitor representing the socially influential people like the NGOs or the social elites. This map becomes their window. All these people should work together so that this map, the world map that is in their class, becomes their real window. And these windows that shut upon their lives like catacombs are tomb, cemetery, where some dead body is buried. So the map should become their windows, and the window should not become their map. Like we did in stanza 2, that their real world is what is seen from the windows of their classroom, the situation should be reversed. We all should do and work together to make this world map their window. And these windows that shut upon their lives like catacombs, these windows which have shut upon their lives, which have closed their lives just like catacombs, in which they are buried alive for their lifetime, they should be able to break open. We should be breaking those catacombs, those tombs, those cemeteries, those graves, and let them come out. These graves should be opened till they break the town, till they reach the life of the towns, and show the children to green fields that their world should not be a narrow, polluted, grey sky world. Their world should be just like the green fields. You should give them, make their world run azure on gold sands. You should give them an opportunity to have an experience of the clear blue skies and run on gold sands, experiencing the clear blue skies. Azure is deep blue. And let their tongues run naked into books. They should be given free access to read books. The white and green leaves open, history theirs whose language is the sun. That if we give them such opportunities, if we give them equal opportunities, the white leaves of the books and the green leaves of the nature will open for them. Means we should be giving them open opportunities to have access to the white leaves, that is the education, and to live in a pollution-free environment, that green leaves. Open history theirs whose language is the sun, so that they are able to create history whose language is the sun. They should be able to speak the language of the sun. The language of the sun is clear, impartial, bold. Coming to the explanation of the poem, of the last stanza. The poet says that the government should take notice of the problems being faced by these kids. He urges them to change the life of these kids and make the world map a reality for them. There is a need to break the restrictions which are put on them due to poverty and lack of resources. He wants the governor and public to help these kids in achieving their dreams. As this will take them away from fog to azure sky, the poet here wants to say that in this way the kids can be taken away from the darkness of their present to a bright future. He wants these kids to experience the sands and the beauty of nature, as this will lead to a desire of gaining knowledge. They will then go through the white and green leaves. Here white leaves depict books and green leaves depict nature. This will then result in their progress, and they will be able to paint a bright future for themselves. I hope you have understood the poem well. If you haven't, in that case, you feel free to talk to me. Thank you.